What is the best structure for your small business and why? Well, it depends. I know, typical lawyer answer, but we're going to get into it. But there is a structure that, for most small businesses, will provide maximum liability protection and the best tax results, flexible tax results that the business owner can control. And we're going to get into that in today's video. Okay, if you're a business owner in 2025, there are a few things that you need to know about business structuring, about liability protection, asset protection. It's the sole reason why you started that business entity in the first place. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe you started your business entity in order to control your tax picture. Well, we're going to talk about that today, and which business entity type and which tax status are the best combination for most small businesses. Now, this isn't universal. They're not necessarily going to be the best options for every business, but for the vast majority of profitable small businesses that are between $2 and $10 million in annual gross revenues, this is probably going to be the best setup. Before we get into it, disclaimer, this is not legal or tax advice. This is just for informational purposes only. So, take it for what it's worth. If you have real questions, then talk to a qualified, competent professional. If you're in Texas, you can call our office and ask us questions. We're happy to talk to folks. So let's get into it. What is the best entity and tax structure for most small businesses in the $2 to $10 million range? As you may have guessed, LLCs are pretty dang good. Okay, so they're superior to partnerships because they're more flexible for tax reasons and for ownership flexibility. So with a partnership, you really don't have many options. It's a partnership. It's taxed as a partnership. Now, if you have a limited partnership, then you've got some added complexity that you don't have with an LLC. Although with an LLC, you can choose your adventure. You can set it up to look very much like a limited partnership if you want to. You can set it up to look like a corporation if you want to. These are some of the reasons that most small businesses choose LLCs, just because they have that flexibility. With respect to the asset protection piece, I believe that an LLC is superior to both a partnership and a corporation, because with the LLC, you get the charging order only protection. And what that means is that if you have a personal judgment against you, for example, from an auto accident or something like that, something against you personally, not against the business, because if there's a liability of the business, then that LLC, the entity liability shield is going to kick in, and it's going to protect your personal assets from liabilities of the business. That's assuming that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's and making sure that you're not commingling funds and that you're keeping good records and things like that. If you don't do those things, then you really open the door to piercing of the corporate veil. But there's something called reverse piercing of the corporate veil. And a lot of people don't know about this because a lot of practitioners don't talk about it, particularly practitioners who are solely tax practitioners, because they're not necessarily lawyers. Most of those tax planners out there, they're not going to be able to tell you about the legal side of things because they're only really concerned about the taxes. And that's fine. But you really need to understand both pieces of that puzzle in order to get the maximum benefit of your entity. All right, so let's talk about reverse veil piercing before I digress any further down that rabbit trail. All right, what does it mean? It means that if you have a personal liability, a personal judgment against you personally, say someone who's on your family insurance policy has a catastrophic at-fault auto accident, and you get sued because it's your vehicle, you are the parent in this example, and you have liability. They're going to come after your insurance policy. They're going to come after you personally. And if the insurance coverage isn't sufficient to satisfy that personal injury lawyer's appetite, then they're going to look to your personal assets. Well, if you've got a profitable business that's worth several $1 million and it's doing $2 to $10 million annually, then they may look to that business to try to satisfy that judgment. Well, if you've got a corporation as the business entity structure, then what that personal injury lawyer is going to try to do if they get a judgment against you is get what's called a turnover order. And they're going to try to put your business into receivership. What that means is that the court is going to appoint someone called a receiver. The receiver gets paid 25% of whatever it is that they can seize and sell, and that includes personal property. So Why does it matter? Well, your corporation's stock is personal property. Oh, well, it's subject to seizure and turnover, right? Okay, so we want to avoid that. Can we avoid that? Yes, we can. If you structure your business as a limited liability company and you structure it properly with the right provisions in your operating agreement, those creditors, those judgment creditors, those personal injury attorneys, they can't get at it. They can't seize your business because your limited liability company membership interest is not personal property. The best that they can do, if we structure it properly, is get a lien against distributions from that LLC. Bottom line here is that the best structure for most small businesses that are doing between $2 and $10 million annually is an LLC, okay, structured properly with the right provisions in the operating agreement for liability protection, taxed as an S corporation. Okay, well, we haven't talked about that yet. Let's talk about the tax aspects of this. If you just set up an LLC and don't make any election, then it's going to be taxed as probably a disregarded entity if it's a single member LLC. Most are. If you've got multiple members, if you've got a business partner, default setting is going to be taxed as a partnership. Okay, that's not as good because all of the income is going to be taxed with your ordinary income tax and then the self-employment tax as well. If we elect S corp treatment, and you can do that with an LLC, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to set your salary at a reasonable level for your profession, for your business, and then everything over and above your salary, all the profits come out to you as well, profits on a K1, okay? And those profits on your K1 are not going to be subject to the self-employment tax. And that can save you 15.3% of whatever that happens to be. Those profits that come out on the K1, you're paying 15% less tax on those than you might otherwise. So if you haven't made the election, if you're just an LLC taxed as a partnership or a disregarded entity, then you're paying that 15% on everything. And if you're a very profitable business, then that really hurts, and you can really save a lot in taxes legally, ethically, morally. It's not going to raise any red flags unless you abuse it. But if you set it up correctly, you can save tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in cases that I've seen. So the best structure for most small businesses is an LLC taxed as an S corporation. Thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.